Hi everyone, welcome back. So, for today's video I wanted to talk about pipe smoking and moisture. Since I've come to realize that this topic is absolutely crucial to pipe smoking and how you enjoy it and the level of enjoyment that you get out of it, and also being the reason why some people never get to get the enjoyment out of it, or why some people might actually fail learning to smoke it. So, excuse me. I'm filming this video in the very last, in the bottom of a bowl. I've been enjoying this pipe for probably the last 40 minutes maybe. And I'm gotten down to the very last piece of tobacco. I'll let it go out right now because actually this process really takes some practice. First of all, it takes time, it takes understanding, it takes being connected with your pipe. So I'll let it go out because I actually just in this moment realized that I'm not able to make this video while actually doing this. Let me go back a little bit. When you first start to smoke a pipe, you quickly realize that there's something about moisture. It's an issue that you don't really see or stumble across if you are a seasoned cigarette or cigar smoker. You don't really experience it. You don't really think much about it. If you light a cigarette, the moisture just evaporates. And you might have a little bit of moisture in the filter, but it's not really anything that you think about because it's never an issue. Same goes for smoking a cigar. The only moisture issue is the moisture coming from your mouth that will be making the cigar wet at the end where the cigars are into your mouth. But that small piece of tobacco you never smoke because that gets tossed. When you burn something, the moisture content in whatever you burn is released. I have a fire oven in my living room, and I have a corner in my backyard where I collect all my wood for that oven. When I get some new wood for my oven, I make a big stack of wood back in the garden, and my rule of thumb is that that wood has to at least lay there covered for at least one summer to dry out before being able to put in my oven and be able to burn properly. So that goes also for your tobacco. If you have a very wet aromatic pipe tobacco, it can burn, but the amount of moisture in the pipe tobacco is way more than the fire in your bowl heating up can evaporate. So therefore the pipe often goes out. It smokes hot because there's a lot of moisture being released from the tobacco, and the moisture builds up because if you're thinking that you have a fire going down in your bowl, and the moisture being released from that tobacco burning is way more than the heat from the bowl itself can evaporate, then you're building up moisture, and that gets to be an issue. So when you're first picking up a pipe and you're smoking, many people they have moisture issues, and if you combine that with poor smoking skills, that spit from your mouth, I forget the saliva maybe, is running down the stem or whatever, then you get into a lot of issues, and you have a horrible amount of moisture in your bowl, and it gets to be a very unpleasant experience. Um, yeah, so there's a lot of variables going. I put a lot of thought into this. When I first started to learn how to smoke a pipe, more or less it goes like this. In the beginning, even though I was starting to dry my tobacco like I'm drying my wood before putting it into the oven, um, there is some moisture, and I want to say that moisture is also your friend smoking pipe, because the moisture has to do with flavor. But I'm trying to not make it too complicated. More often than so, you have too much moisture. But I can make a video about moisture going the other way around. That you have to have some moisture in the tobacco, being able to smoke cool and actually to have some flavor for you. But let me put that to aside. Too much moisture. So I was in the beginning trying to learn it, and I was drying my tobacco. That helped, but there was still moisture being released, burning the tobacco in the bowl. So when I came like down to the center in the middle of the bowl, and from there on going down, smoking the pipe, you get further and further down in the bowl. The last piece of tobacco gets wet, because that is where the moisture is gathering down in the bottom of the bowl. So the last piece of tobacco gets wet. And my first solution to that was that, okay, it doesn't taste so good when you get down to the bottom of the bowl, so I'll just be tossing that last piece of bit of tobacco every time. And I found out that that creates some issues. I was reading a book, a Danish book about pipe smoking going like 70 years back or something, where he was talking about this skill about pipe smoking. And he was like digging into my brain, because I was thinking about that. And he was talking about the skill of pipe smoking being that people that never smoke a bowl through to bare ash really never learns to smoke a pipe. And I was first a little provocative by this, and then I was thinking more and more about it. And then I took it up as a challenge, because he says in the book that everyone can learn if they want to take the time to become a real pipe smoker, being able to smoke every bowl down to bare ash. And he also goes further to explain why that is important, and that this quite makes sense for me. When I was looking at my pipes and how the buildup of carbon cake is in my pipes, I have a thick layer of carbon cake in the first 50% of the bowl from the top down. Down in the bottom of the bowl there was zero cake. And the issue comes that if you all the time smoke the bowl down to like leaving the last third of the bowl, and that tobacco is soaking wet, the pipe will always be wet when you leave it, and it's actually not how you want to do it. If you are able to smoke the pipe all the way through, you will all the time be drying your pipe in the last third of the bowl, so that when you put the pipe down, there might be a little bit of moisture up here in the stem that you can get out with the pipe cleaner, but actually the pipe is bare bone dry when you're done smoking it. And I've been spending quite some time. I'm not 100% there yet, but I'm so damn close that I can actually see that this is 100% true. I'll try to explain what goes on. Because in the beginning I was thinking, okay, so when I was smoking it, when I came down to that last third of the bowl, the tobacco was wet. So I thought, okay, now I came down to wet tobacco. So, okay, I didn't succeed this time, so I'll try to change up how I smoke the pipe to when I get down to the last bottom of the bowl, the tobacco is dry so I can smoke it. But then I came to realize that's not what it's about. It's impossible to smoke the first 3/4 of the bowl without collecting moisture down in the bottom of the bowl. That is just how it goes. Even with pretty dry tobacco, the amount of moisture that is released collects down here because you draw your smoke through and it leaves the moisture down in the bottom of the bowl. So you will dampening the last piece of tobacco. But that's not the issue. That is unavoidable. You can minimize it, but you can never avoid it. But if you all the time leave the wet tobacco down at the bottom of the bowl, you never get a buildup of cake down there that can absorb the smoke. So you have a bad tasting smoke down in the bottom of the bowl. When you leave the pipe wet, the briar is soaking up all of this sauce that you've created with tar and whatever. That gets soaked into the briarwood in the bottom of the bowl. And the point is that eventually you can end up with a sour pipe because you all the time leave wet tobacco down there that dries into the briar. So what you have to do is learn a technique so when you get down to the bottom of the bowl, the heat that you have in the burning tobacco as you get down starts to very slowly dry out the wet tobacco. And when you get down to the last bottom, you'll start to hear a small sizzling in your pipe. And this is a good sign. This is your friend. This means that the pipe is going in a rate with heat, and the burning of the tobacco goes in a rate where it can start to burn out this moisture. And the sizzling also only goes on for a small extended period of time. Because after a little bit of a time and really paying attention, the tobacco gets bone dry down in the bottom of the bowl, and you're able to smoke all the way down, leaving nothing but bare ash. And as I said, I'm almost there. I have a little bit of unburned, like scored tobacco. Uh, I'll have to keep doing this all the way. What I still am not 100% what I don't have success with yet is that I actually doing my smoking my pipe. I actually and now I'm really crossing into some holy ground. I'm actually taking the stem off. Some pipes are very tight, and I know that you shouldn't do this because you can really damage the shank and break the pipe. But on my Savanellis, I can just with no issue take this off, even though the pipe is warm. And if I have some buildup of moisture, I just take a pipe cleaner and remove it and put it back on and keep smoking. And another thing that I found that I can do is that I'll show you actually. I'm down to the last quarter of the bowl. And just before I started to record this video, I was getting a little bit of a sizzling in the bottom because I was starting to dry out my last piece of tobacco. Sometimes I do like this. I check if I have a buildup of moisture. And I do not. I can actually help myself a little bit. blowing. You might get a little bit of ash because I actually want to heat up. So right now, what I have accomplished is that I've been drying out the shank. I've been drying out the last piece of tobacco. And then I can very slowly start to burn the last bit of tobacco. And when I'm succeeding, I'll be able to just turn my pipe around and nothing but bare ash will come out. You should at least do this in the beginning until you have a cake down there. But what you are accomplishing doing this is that you have a piece of briar that is bone dry when you're done smoking it. That makes that the next time you smoke your pipe, it tastes absolutely beautiful. There's a difference. Because bone dry briar tastes so good. The funny thing is that 7LD actually says in one of their videos about how you should smoke your pipe that you should never smoke the last bit of tobacco because it is wet and filled with tar. I will agree that the last 10% of the bulb doesn't taste as amazing as the first or in the middle. But this will ensure that you are not ending up with a sour pipe. And I think this is something that gets to be forgotten these days. Taking care of your pipes, not making them disgusting and wet. I'm just checking. It is just so damn bone dry down there because I have a very good fire going and the moisture is getting evaporated. Yep, I can hear it. What I will sometimes do at the very end, I'll actually stop smoking the pipe because it is not so enjoyable at the very bottom because it's dried out tobacco with not much flavor. So you can like draw a little bit, combined with blowing air, burn the last piece of tobacco before you dump the ash and you put the pipe to rest. I'm not sure if this makes sense for everyone. Comment down below what you think. For me, it makes sense. Yep. This is a skill that takes time. If you want to try it or not is up to you. But for sure, this is something that I think seasoned pipe smokers in the old days, they took that very seriously. And I think that's something that has been forgotten. Being able to smoke your pipe all the way through, not leaving goopy mess of crap in your pipe. So, that's it for today's video. I wanted to share that with you. So, thanks for watching. Bye bye.